Yeah, from Gary Breen last night. We got Kenny Cunningham with us this morning. Kenny, good morning to you.
Morning, Jer.
Look, I didn't intend to ask you about this, but we just played the clip. Obviously, the news came through. The FA have banned heading in kids' football. It's the right call, right?
It is, yeah. I've had this discussion a couple of times. I've actually given it a lot of thought, Jer, over the last maybe year or so since I think it was the US Federation put a ban in place for young kids over there. I must admit, when it first was mute with this thing, initially your first reaction, it's not a crazy idea, this, you know what I mean? How can you possibly play this game without heading a football? And, you know, kids need to have their practice time with the ball, heading included. It's a wonderful facet of our game. But, yeah, the more data that comes out and you take the time to kind of look at it and just give it a little bit of thought, really, Jer, particularly if, you know, like I said, Gary there as well, you've played the game for a long period of time. There's some of the stories that are coming out, some of the personal stories, even players who've, you know, family members of players you've played with, kind of does, once you give it a little bit of thought, you think to yourself, there's an argument here to be made, particularly in relation to young players as well. Young players' bodies are forming, their brains in particular are part of that. So until the science, the data comes out in more detail of the next couple of years, I'm sure it will, Gerard, the next maybe 2, 5, 10 years. I'm sure there'll be some major studies coming out, some huge funds now being diverted into it. Should be more, actually. I think there will be.
Yeah.
We get a bit more of a grip on in terms of the kind of the effects of the kind of constant repetition heading of the football. But in the meantime, yeah, you've got to err on the side of caution, Gerard, undoubtedly, particularly with the younger players. So restricting their practice time with the football in the training environment, certainly the way forward.
The FAI have said they're maintaining a watching brief on this. I mean, I know obviously they've been very busy with other issues over the last period of time, but given the FA have made the move, probably the right thing for the FAI to do is to do exactly the same thing?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily one for, you've got to make your own judgment call on it. I'd like to think the FAI would take a step back and again assess all the information. There's quite a bit out there already. It wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say, well, the FAI are doing it or they're doing it, we have to do it as well. You know, we got some bright people as well in our country, so I'm sure we'll make the right call. But when there's that type of indecision, Jay, people are a little bit unsure, the data isn't quite there. Why take the risk? I don't think Jayden necessarily kind of, if you think about it in terms of heading the foot, like me and Gary, in terms, obviously spent a lot of our career kind of heading footballs basically, and being defenders as well. It was a part of the game we felt we needed to improve. So, it would have been every day, most days, repetition, heading the football. But that was at your club, that was at your club environment where you felt as if you were there on a day-to-day basis. In terms of kind of international football and stuff like that, not so prevalent really, Joe. When international teams kind of come together, it's not that people are individually being taken out and being asked to do a lot of kind of heading practice, that type of thing. For me, it's more about your day-to-day involvement, your day-to-day contact with the football, and predominantly that happens at your own football club. But on a point of principle, I think whether it's your own club and your club football or international arena, whatever it is, for me, generally speaking, we're certainly heading in that direction. I expect the FAI to follow, and it does make sense, I must admit.
Yeah, all right. Kenny, let's talk about Liverpool last night. At any point, did you think that West Ham were going to get something from that game?
Oh, yeah, right up until the last, the referee blew his whistle. Got to be honest with you, Jay. Yeah, I mean, even after Liverpool got that third goal, the last couple of minutes, West Ham were pushing and should have got the equalising goal, Jay. Antonio played a clever little ball in behind there, laid on. Liverpool again keeping that kind of high line. Laid on, played in behind Van Dijk. Funny enough, Jerry, if you don't remember the Norwich game a few weeks ago when Liverpool won, there was a moment and Norwich played a very similar ball. Liverpool high line, the ball was played in behind Van Dijk and Robertson, didn't see the run, and Norwich had a 2v1 situation against Alisson then, did try to pass it around, if you remember, and he kind of sprung across and pawed it away. Very similar last night again. Antonio coming on the inside, playing a little pass in behind, diagonal run. And it's amazing, really. Van Dijk, we all agree, it's not up for discussion what a great centre half he is. But it just goes to show you the centre half, no matter how good you are, how strong you are, how quick you are, if you're stood still, facing up the pitch, with your shoulders facing square, and somebody plays a ball in behind, and the timing of the run is good enough, somebody's on the move, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. They got away with it again last night. West Ham could have scored and equalised. Wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, the title's done. It's just a tap on the shoulder for Liverpool, and even going forward the next couple of games in terms of general form, concentration levels, decision making has got to be spot on with this kind of Atletico Madrid on the horizon.
Look, I think that's exactly it. If you're a Liverpool fan at that stage when they were 2-1 down, thinking about what would Atletico Madrid do in this circumstance, this is not nailed on by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's a really good chance now that Atletico go through, unless Liverpool suddenly can kick their form from what it was against Atletico, from what it was last night, to something much higher still. Like, they need to vastly improve the quality of their performance from last night to consider even going through against Atletico.
Well, I agree with you, Jerry, in terms of a very dangerous scoreline against Atletico. This is a totally different challenge which they faced last year against Barcelona. Now the scoreline was bigger against Barcelona, but this Atletico team, more defensively resolute, actually enjoy keeping the lead. But I think what Liverpool supporters, and they probably will need to remember, the Atletico Madrid performance in the Metropolitano was great from a defensive point of view in terms of the two blocks, centre forward, in terms of the compact team shape, how they defended the box, etc., was very impressive. But in terms of their actual football, when they won back possession, it was as poor as I've seen Atletico over a number of years. I've never seen them give away the ball away as easily as they did once they won possession. It's probably an indication, kind of lack of confidence in them. They've had a funny old season. The amount of times they were throwing themselves to the ground over there was an indication for me, a bit of a lack of confidence in possession of the ball. I actually think they can play a lot better in possession, and certainly on counter-attack. They didn't really offer too much on counter-attack against Liverpool, and I think Simeone will get that right. I think Atletico will improve in that respect. So if they get the opportunity to get their heads up, a bit like Antonio did last night, drifting in field with his head up, not enough pressure on the ball, Liverpool keep that high line and don't get those decisions right, I think Atletico can get through them. I think they have the players, the quality of players to do that. So you're absolutely right. Certain aspects, Jay, I wouldn't say a massive, huge increase in performance, but certain aspects of Liverpool performance will have to improve. Certainly going forward, you can see the quality they have, Alexander-Arnold in particular. I'm fascinated to see what Simeone will do down that side of the pitch. For me, he's almost got to play his best defensive midfielder, left wing, against Liverpool, just to counteract the qualities of Alexander-Arnold. I think he will. But generally speaking, Liverpool, that high line, that compact shape, leaving that space in behind. When you squeeze, when you drop off, that compact shape, communication between the back four, Robinson and Van Dijk in particular, has to be absolutely spot on. If not, and Atletico raise their game in relation to how they can pass the ball and the quality of their runs, then they'll fancy their chance to score at Anfield. And if they do that, it really puts the squeeze on Liverpool.
What can Liverpool do between now and then to make sure that everybody is actually back to the level that is Liverpool's best? I guess the first question is, are Liverpool playing a little bit below par at the moment? Yeah,
I think that's fair, just a little bit off. Yeah, but it's not. I can't say I'm massively surprised here. I can't put myself in the position of those players in terms of what's ahead of them, what's coming down the road. There's a league championship there, but it's done, Jer. I spoke to yourself or one of your colleagues a few weeks or maybe a month ago, saying for me the focus has got to be all about in terms of really Champions League. The league is done now, and in terms of Klopp and his team, it's always about the league games now preparing his side for these Champions League games that are coming. So Liverpool now 3 games before the Atletico game. It's all about piecing the team together for what team he wants to put on the pitch against Atletico. I know Henderson's not fit, but even looking around the pitch, players, maybe you're talking why performance dipped a little. Is there a little bit of drop-off physically, one or two of those players? Even mentally, do they need to take one or two of them out? Whoever it is all around the pitch, we'll take him out, whatever it takes. Do some players actually need a bit more game time between now and the Atletico? Bring them in. So forget about getting the next win and getting that league title as quickly as possible. For me, it's not about that at all. The league title is done. If I'm a Liverpool supporter, I don't care if it happens next week or 2 months down the road. All that matters to me is that Atletico game coming down the road and actually preparing the team and those fixtures in between and getting them fine-tuned and are physically, mentally in the right space for where they need to be against this really challenging game against Atletico. Even if it's the case, look, last night, Jay, you look at that performance like Alexander-Arnold, you think to yourself, my God, if he doesn't make this starting lineup against Atletico in a couple of weeks' time, in terms of Liverpool as an attacking force, they're probably 50% less than what they could be. So you even need to take him out in one or two of the games prior to Atletico. Just take him out, just protect him, keep him nice and fresh. protect him from injury. He's become that important from a creative point of view from Liverpool, from that kind of full-back position. So I'm sure they're all the things like Klopp will be thinking about.
It's such a difficult balancing act, though, because part of what's happened here is that their form was so brilliant that the winter break happened and they've just come off a little bit and now they need to get back up to where they were. But do you do that through extra playing time, or do you do that through getting players fresh? And the answer is probably some players need playing time and some players need to be fresh. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And that's why I look at Klopp and think this will be absolutely fascinating. I'm sure he's having those discussions with his support staff, Ger, and every time he'll never say it on air in front of the cameras in terms of, look, we focus now on Champions League, the league's done. Now it's all about tinkering with my squad and make sure everybody's absolutely spot on for these Champions League games when they come around. But that has to be the mentality. That has to be the way he's thinking, because that's the way it is. And they need that high level of performance between now and the end of the season. These Champions League games come along. There's been times in the league, Joe, I know it's been an amazing season, they're unbeaten, it's hard to even criticise that. People laugh at you when you try and criticise some of Liverpool's performance, but there's been enough times this season in individual games, and it's been the case of late, you just kind of dissect their performance, and there's times in games, 10-15 minute periods, just a little bit drop off, lack of concentration, opposition teams get in, maybe just don't take advantage. And you just think to yourself, the very highest level, this is what the Champions League is, you have those moments, let alone 10, 15, 20-minute periods in games, you have these kind of 2 5-second moments as defenders in particular, individually just kind of switch off, lack of concentration, don't see runs, don't make the right decisions, and you're dead. You're absolutely dead. It's been no surprise, Liverpool's problems, Champions League early on the season, at this level, particularly high up the pitch, opposition teams, the quality of player they have in central areas, wide, forward-thinking players, clever operators, drop into the box to get in the half-turn, see passes, quality of movement in behind you. You get hurt, just a second of a bit of a switch off, ball watching, not aware of a run. Don't give your mate a shout, don't make him aware of a run, and you're dead. There's too many good players at this level who'll hurt you. So that's Liverpool really have to guard against.
And look, I can see why Liverpool fans are a little bit touchy when it comes to the team being criticised when they are 22 points clear at the top of the Premier League. But we are having a conversation about them as potentially the best Liverpool team of all time, as one of the best teams that Europe has seen in a long time. And if that's going to be the case, then they need to reach the level of Arrigo Sacchi's Milan or any of those other great teams that we think about, Pep's Barcelona. And they're not quite at that level just yet because they haven't won a domestic league title officially just yet, and they won one Champions League. So, but that's the rarefied atmosphere that we're talking about. And you can see that there are times over the course of the season where they've coasted on their talent as opposed to just battering teams through organisation. Like last night was a bit of we're a better team here, we're going to be fine. And there have been a few games where they've scratched out 1-0s against patently inferior teams. So I don't know what you think about where they stand in that pantheon of greatness just yet, or what they need to do to reach that level.
Yeah, well, I think they have it, Jared. All the basic fundamentals for me are there for them to go to achieve the things that you were talking about, that kind of greatness, whatever that, people interpret that differently. But yeah, I think you all generally know what you're talking about in terms of, well, it's league titles win and it's Champions Leagues, really fundamentally, Jerry. You can talk about an FA Cup win, Carabao, and World Club, the Club World Cup, which I watched, which was fantastic. But fundamentally, over a period of time, over the next kind of 2 to 5 years, if this team's going to be lauded as the greats, people are really going to be looking at the numbers in terms of league titles and Champions League. And that's what I'm talking about. Champions League, an opportunity now to put back-to-back Champions League titles together, Liverpool. This may never happen. They never find themselves in this position over the next 2 to 5 years. It's a very difficult thing to do, even in terms of that drop-off I'm talking about. Even if you're playing reasonably close to your best Champions League, no guarantee, but the nature of the competition, knockout competition, you can just get the wrong side of the line and find yourself out of the competition. But for me, with this Liverpool team, it's really just kind of concentration, focus, those type of things. The mentality's been fantastic there for a long period of time at Liverpool, not just this season, last season as well, the way they finished the season. It's there. I think team selection plays a small part, and we've spoken about this, Jerry, in terms of what team Klopp puts on the pitch. Absolutely vital for me to get Henderson back on that pitch. In what area of the pitch, again, is open for the discussion. But all those small things depending on what the opposition throw at you. I mean, they're key, they're small margins, we all know what they are, but all the fundamentals are there, Jared. That's not up for argument for me in terms of the quality, the mentality of this team. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's ferocious, like, in terms of what Klopp has got within that dressing room, but it's no guarantee, and at any given moment, if you're not quite at it, and particularly in terms of, that's what I'm talking about, concentration, levels, focus, those things, just a small little switch off individually, collectively, against the very best teams, that's it. It's all over. So that's the challenge for Liverpool players going forward.
One quick question about West Ham before I ask you about the Chelsea game tonight. Are they going down, or was there enough spirit and fight and organisation last night for you to think, OK, if that goalkeeper doesn't make some errors, they're going to be able to pick up points?
Yeah, I think they will. I think they can pick up points. I think they're in trouble, don't get me wrong, but that was a little bit heartening last night, Jared. Too often I've watched them this season. It's been tepid. It really has. A kind of a lack of energy in the team, even in terms of the mentality of the players, the motivation you'd question as well. But that was a little bit better last night. You felt there was a little bit of a collective coming together from the players. The lad they brought in centre midfield, Czech Republic, Sublak, I was impressed with him, although he went off. Hopefully that's not too serious. But they showed a little bit last night, which was encouraging. But they've still got a lot to do, don't get me wrong. But they've encouraged a little bit when they look around them, Jay. There's a couple of teams really struggling there around them. Aston Villa in particular, for me, are kind of dropping like a stone. But still, you can't look around at other teams. You've got to focus on your own dressing room, the players around you. I don't think they're over it, and I do worry for them, Jay. I just think, look at this fixtures. Aston Villa home last game of the season. Got to win that to stay up. I'd probably fancy them to do it, but it's just one of them. I've been there myself. Just head down, collectively pull together the whole dressing room, and hope there's enough, individual quality within that dressing room at times to see you through. Okay,
a question about Chelsea against Bayern Munich tonight. This game kicks off obviously at 8 o'clock alongside the Napoli-Barcelona game. For Chelsea under Frank Lampard to be facing Bayern Munich in the round of 16 of the Champions League after the transfer ban that they've come through, it's some achievement, really.
No, it is. Yeah, you get very excited there, Jay. I don't know if you're a Lampard supporter, but I'd agree with you to a point. I think he had a good squad of players, Jay, to begin with. Don't get me wrong. People forget as well. Pulisic. People said no, he couldn't bring any players. Well, Pulisic came in the summer for 65 million. Now that was agreed already, but there was a good core group of players for him to work with there. He's invested in individual talent. He showed a lot of confidence in them. There's been big steps forward. Tammy Abrams and a number of others there. So the core group of players is very good there. But I think he has done a very good job. You're absolutely right. And this is an amazing, I wouldn't say shot to nothing, because there is quality within that squad. There will be a certain expectancy that they're capable of going through against Bayern. But this Bayern team, Jerry, has been rebooted over the last year or so. They've spent heavily. Young talent have come in. They've energised their team. We looked at Bayern Munich team a couple of years ago and thought they're too slow over the hill. They've got to get that average age down. It's exactly what they have. Got some outstanding talent there, particularly high up the pitch. Gnabry, Coman, Perisic, Coutinho. I could go on and on and on. Even back in the back, Alfonso, young boy at left back, is the quickest thing I've ever seen. Pavard, Hernandez has spent massive on. So there's been a massive reboot there. They're a very dangerous team, a bit like the Leipzig team which played against Tottenham the other night in terms of energy around the pitch. But individual talent, they're probably even better. So massive challenge for Chelsea. It's going to be an amazing game. I can't wait for it. But Chelsea are actually up against, I wouldn't say it's a free hit for Lampard, because I actually think that over the two legs they're capable of going through. But I must admit, my good feeling tells me what I've seen at Bayern Munich this year, they have the quality over two legs to get the better of this Chelsea team.
N'Golo Kante hasn't quite been at the same level as he was when he was winning league titles, but him being injured and out, it's one of those things that kind of definitely swings the tide further in Bayern Munich's direction than it already might have been. Oh, massive, Jer. Absolutely massive. For me, it almost swings every game. Any top team playing against Chelsea swings in their favour. Anytime I don't see Kante's name on the pitch, when I look at the Chelsea team, I wince from a Chelsea's perspective. It's going to be a massive miss even in the short term. You're probably looking at Jorginho and Kovacic in there again. Two wonderfully technical players, but none of them can tackle. Don't know how to tackle, don't track a run. And the operators that Madrid have in that area of the pitch, Kimmich will probably play there and hold the midfield position. We've got the Thiago in there, very clever operator. Coutinho might play in there. The movement's very good, very clever in that area of the pitch.
and they'll have a fair amount of possession of the ball, Bayern Munich. And against the Chelsea team with Jorginho and Kovacic in there, if that's the case, they're going to hurt you because there's a soft centre, there's a fragility in the centre of that Chelsea midfield. As wonderful they are going forward, and I'm sure Chelsea will cause Bayern Munich problems, undoubtedly. That's the worry for me. That central midfield area for Chelsea, when Kante doesn't take the pitch onto the pitch, is a weakness. And against the very best teams, just spoken about Liverpool, against the very best teams, which is what you get in this competition, you get exposed, and that'd be my worry for Chelsea. Chelsea, Kante not on the pitch for either of those games against Bayern Munich. I think that could be decisive.
All right, Kenny, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning.
Cheers, Jer.